Tally-ho! Boy, I still can't believe I did that. Hey, it's Walt with Survive Alaska. I just made it back to the trailhead after a thoroughly enjoyable trip here in southeast Alaska. Come along with me while I go backpacking in the dark, camp without a tent or sleeping bag, make a really unfortunate and expensive mistake, hopefully learn a few things, and have a great time. My friend just dropped me off at the end of the road here. The temperature is about 36 degrees right now. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun, so we'll see how it goes. Well, now it's raining quite a bit harder. It's not like a downpour or anything, but it's a steady drizzle. I'm gonna get soaked if I stay out any longer. I'm gonna head up into those trees. I think we should be able to find something that'll keep the wind and rain off us, at least to a degree. Let's see what we can find here. Yeah, just like this. This is the quickest way to lose weight. Look at that, just a couple of buckles, and suddenly I'm 70 pounds lighter. Wonder what that came off of. There's not much rain falling in here, so I think I'm gonna build myself a fire. I'm gonna cook some dinner, and I'm gonna curl up and try and get some sleep. So my favorite fire starter of all time is birch bark, but I don't have any of that around here. This is sometimes almost as good. I think we'll be just fine, even if the wood's a little wet. This is like, I don't know, kerosene. Just show you how well that stuff burns. Just chipped off that piece of bark with pitch on it, and it won't light with a spark. You need flame. It's got to get kind of hot before it goes, but once it starts, this stuff is incredible. Just like that. Alright, I think I've got the fire in a good spot to make dinner. For dinner tonight, I borrowed a pot that my friend said he didn't really need anymore, so if I destroy it, then it's not that big of a deal, but I've got myself some pork chops. $5 for 5 chops seemed like a good enough deal to me. Dinner time. See if this stuff's any good. It smells good. That'll do just fine. It's hard to overstate just how good butter, salt, and pepper are. If you just have those 3 things, you can be happy. So my little saw is getting kind of old, apparently kind of dull. This saw has definitely seen better days, but it still works. It's better than chewing on it. The benefit of keeping a fire going is that when I wake up freezing cold, all I have to do is throw some firewood on there and warm up again and go back to sleep. I'll throw a big pile of smaller stuff on top of it, and then we'll move some of the coals over here from that fire, and then I can finally go to bed. got the fire ready for the night. When I get cold, I'll just wake up and cut some more firewood. That'll warm me up and get me some more firewood. And we'll start the whole thing all over again. I had enough of a day that I'm just gonna call it quits. I'll let that fire keep burning. And I've got my rain gear on, so hopefully it keeps me warm. It'll at least keep me dry if I don't melt it. But I'm gonna get some sleep now. Have a good night. I'm sure that bird is a beautiful person, but that is really loud. I was sleeping really well that time. It's really getting light out there. I could get up, but yeah, maybe I'll at least go see what kind of critter that is. I think I'm going to leave him alone for now, but now that it's daylight and I can see where I'm at, I'm going to say it's a beautiful place. Ocean, mountains, they've got it all. Supposedly, for crabbing, you want a sandy bottom, and that's what this place has. I'm going to try and catch some crabs today so I can eat them. I guess we'll see how well that goes, but I didn't really sleep that well last night. I might try and get a little bit more shut-eye before I get moving. Oh, here we go. I guess they're just Canadian geese. I think I better get up. It's about 8:30, and I've got a lot I need to do today. But I'm noticing something that I did not expect to see. I better show you. This is pretty incredible. Don't get to see this very often in southeast Alaska, from what I'm told. But if I'm not mistaken, this could be one of those rare occasions when there's blue sky. This looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. The weather was calling for nothing but rain and snow. This is much better than rain and snow, so this is very exciting. Sun's just starting to peek over the hills over there. I don't know how long it's gonna stay nice and sunny, but while it is, we're gonna have fun with it. There's not a lot of snow. I thought there'd be more, but there should be enough
for me to get some drinking water. Never perfectly clean, but that's all right. It's better than going thirsty. It's about time I had breakfast. I've never actually tried this before. Generally, my daughter makes our camping bread dough, which is fantastic. But my daughter's not here, and I was staying in a hotel room. So I went to Fred Meyer and I bought this Pillsbury French bread dough. I don't know if this is gonna work very well at all, but we'll give it a shot. There we go. Got a little bit of dirt in there, but nothing too crazy. We'll throw it in on that nice hot butter, just like so. Let's see how she's doing. Ooh, I might have burned that. I definitely burned it, but it will still be delicious. Got butter on the bread. Now we take our little handy dandy honey bear. We'll put some honey on it, because honey with butter on bread is one of the best things on the whole planet. My dad would make fry bread when I was a kid, and we'd put butter and honey on it, sometimes jam, and it's still one of my favorite breakfasts. I'd take that over pancakes or waffles any day. There's an eagle out there letting us know he's here. Sure a cool sound. I think he wants some of my honey butter bread. But he doesn't get any. I didn't bring enough to share. Bacon looks like it's about done. Next time, I'm bringing a plate. Hard to go wrong with bacon. Even if it's not great bacon, it's still great because it's bacon. Bacon makes everything great. I'm off to explore. We've got the camp in a good enough spot I can walk away. So that's what I'm going to do. That is a beautiful beach. Tide's out. This is probably a really good time to set the crab pot, but I want to do a little bit of exploring first. This place is something else. These sandbars everywhere else I've been in Alaska have been silt, which just essentially turns into quicksand. So if you walk out there, you end up getting your boots stuck in the mud. When I was a kid, we lived in Unalakleet, and we'd go down to the beach sometimes, and you'd have, when the tide would go out, you'd have these sandbars sticking way out in the water, and I like to run out there. Of course, I was only 4 years old, so I would get stuck, and either my older sisters or my dad would have to come and save me. This is not like this. This is, or not like that. This is actual sand, which is just fascinating to me. I mean, it must go way out here. I really should go drop the crab pot. Looks like the tide might be starting to come back in. Which, from what some of the people who live in this area have told me, is when you want to put your pots out. Put them out there when the tide's coming in, and the crabs kind of follow the water line closer to shore, so they'll move back in. Because I don't really want to go too far out there in my little inflatable raft. But the water's clear too. That's a little bit different than most places in Alaska. Look at those mountains. Sure, a beautiful place to be, especially when it's not snowing and raining. Finding some shells all over the place, even up here in the grass. Critters must pick them up and then bring them up here to eat them, would be my guess. But anyway, my thought is go over there and see how things look. Just got snow in my boots. Better empty them out before I have soaked feet. I'm not an expert at all on mollusks and non-vertebrates, but I do like picking up shells. So I'm trying to collect the ones that are whole, bring them home to the kids. I think this is the winner so far. I don't know if it's a geoduck or what kind of a clam that is, but I was thinking about coming over here to the rocks and trying to collect some of these to eat, but the state of Alaska Department of Fish and Game recommends not eating any of the clams from waters around here because of paralytic shellfish poison. It's apparently a big problem, especially with water temperatures getting a little bit warmer. The algae stays alive longer, and there are certain algae that mollusks will feed on, and it is toxic to humans. So the clams will eat the algae, and then we eat the clams, and it can be toxic enough to be fatal. So I'm not going to be trying to eat any of the mussels or clams that I find, if I can find any, because I don't want to get poisoned. That does not sound like a good time. But I do still enjoy the shells, and I'm gonna pick up a couple of more to bring home with me. Another winner. If I wasn't worried about the paralytic shellfish poisoning, it wouldn't be too hard to feed yourself here. I mean, that is a whole lot of mussels there, and they're edible. You know, blue mussels, and you know, you want to get the biggest ones you could. You know, guys like that. But I don't feel like getting paralyzed today, so I am gonna pass. I'm gonna take my little shell collection and head back to camp. We'll blow up the raft and just see if we are able to catch some crabs. Crabs won't poison you unless you eat, they could have PSP in them from what I've read, but it won't be in their meat. It would be in their digestive tract. So as long as you do a good job cleaning and don't have any of the guts contaminating what you eat, it shouldn't be something to worry about. I'm coming up on my friends that woke me up this morning. There's a whole flock of geese out there. I'm gonna try not to scare them too bad. I don't want them to have to fly away, but I believe my camp is in that stand of trees. I could be wrong. Oh, there's an eagle up in that tree. Not that that's a big deal here because eagles are everywhere, but they're still amazing animals. I made it back to my side of the trees, The tide is way out. Not sure where I want to put the boat in at. I don't want to be out in deep water, but that looks like it stays shallow forever. I was thinking I'd go out to like 40 feet or so, but might go all the way across the bay before I found water that deep. I changed my mind again. I packed everything up. I think I want to go crabbing around the point where I went. And so packed everything up, and now I'm gonna have to hurry because it'll probably be dark before I'm on the water at this rate. More walking. I was just trying to be lazy because I don't like walking around with 70 pounds on my back. But there are worse things. I could be at work. Here we go. Let's try through here maybe. All right. Well, this is pretty cool. It really is a rainforest. You know, I'm so far away from it where I live, but this is the most northernmost rainforest in the world, I believe. Beautiful. Had to go all the way back to where I dropped my backpack to find this hose. But I did find it, so now all we have to do is air this boat up and it should be in business. There's a seal out there saying hello. Hello. I don't know what kind of seal that is, but seems like a curious fellow, that's for sure. Hey there, buddy. I gotta get to work. Don't eat my bait. Alright, I'm the captain of my own vessel. And it even floats. I don't see any leaks. The paddles are about as chintzy, or the oars are as chintzy as they come, but as long as they get me where I'm going, I'm not going to complain too loud. Let's see if there's any crabs out here. Ugh. These oars are just too short, even for a tiny little float tube like this. All right, I think this is as deep as I'm gonna go. So now all I need to do is drop the pot in the water. Hopefully this doesn't take me all day. Probably should have tried this when I was back on land. I do not want to pull my knife out, but that is not wide enough. Just be really careful. Sharp objects and inflatables don't play nicely. There we go. All right, fish chunk number one. All right, tally-ho. Not sure if I've done this right or not, but at this point, it doesn't matter anymore. Ooh, well that matters. Don't like that at all. If I could get that buoy to just float away, I should have just left the buoy on shore. Pull it out with me. But that is not what I did. This is going to be a problem. Got 100 feet of rope, but that won't do us any good if it's all tangled up. Well, I've got a confession to make. I've done some extremely embarrassing things. A lot of extremely embarrassing things. But this one is up there. And thankfully it's not actually on camera because my battery died right before it happened. But I just lost my crab pot. I wasn't even remotely concerned about running out of line, so I didn't have a tagline on it. I had 100 feet of line, and I just assumed that would be plenty. I went out a couple of 100 yards, and I was actually thinking the water would only be, 40 feet deep maybe. If you go down the beach that way, back to where my old camp was, about a mile or so, at low tide, I'd probably still be able to walk on the sandbar all the way out to where I dropped the pot here. So I just made a poor assumption that the bottom would be similar over here, and terrible assumption. So no crab for me today, and I'm gonna leave my crab pot and all my line and everything at the bottom of the bay here. And this is why the fishing game writes the regulations so that crab pots are built so that anything that gets in has a way to get out. There's nothing good about it though. Live and learn. I won't do that again, but it stinks that I did it this time. I was really excited about that crab, but I guess I think I might pack all my stuff up and go back to my old camp just so I'll be closer to where I need to be in the morning. That'll shave off a mile of walking tomorrow. Boy, I still can't believe I did that. I mean, it happened, so I can believe it, but that was just not very intelligent. Oh well. Just make sure I don't ever do the same thing again. Alright, I made it back home. At least that's what it feels like. Getting ready to start my fire for the night. I'm gonna do the same thing I did last night. Find a piece of bark that's soaked in pitch. Now, pitch will not ignite from a spark. However, it will ignite from a flame, and it doesn't take a lot of flame generally before it'll go. You don't need much of a flame, but you do need a flame instead of a spark. For dinner tonight, I'm doing some sweet potato. We'll just bury that right there, and it can stay in there for a good long while if it's covered. If you don't cover it all the way, then the top will get it'll burn more than I would like it to. Well, it's been a bit of a disappointing day. I was hoping to have crab instead of pork, but nothing wrong with a little bit of pig. You know what would be really nice right about now? A fork. Messed up on that one. Sweet potato is nice and squishy now. You can smell it too. It smells good. Just gonna split it in half. Still a little chunk in there that's not done. Pretty amazing. You can leave these things for so long. But you can see there's just a little bit. Basically just the skin is charred and the rest of it's fine. The very center isn't done, but that's all right. Oh, that was hot. Just a little bit grainy, but most of it is done, so it's just delicious. All right, have some peppered chop. Now I should have pulled that off a little sooner, but it's still going to taste amazing. Oh, wow, that is just fine. Exactly like it is. That doesn't need anything else at all. I know it's not crab, but if nobody reminds me, I'll still be happy with the meal I've got. This is fantastic. Another chunk of the pork. Oh yeah. I think it's time for dessert. I still have firewood to cut, but I might as well get started on it. That is glorious. Doesn't sound like they want to keep it down tonight. Throwing a party over there on the grass. Wonder if they've got anything good to eat. Ooh, this is gonna be amazing. Get some honey on that. And this is gourmet dining. It's about 5 in the morning. This will be the third time I've gotten up, except for this time I didn't get up because I was cold. Between last night and tonight, the wind has always been blowing that way, kind of parallel to the way that I'm laying. Well, the wind shifted so that it was blowing right in my face, and I woke up 100% thinking that I was on fire. So I had a nice little panic there. Ugh. I don't even need to throw wood on the fire. But I'm awake nonetheless. Hopefully I can get back to sleep. Problem with not having any kind of a sleeping bag or shelter is using a campfire for your warmth. It only warms up one side of you at a time. So I do a lot of tossing and turning. It's not the most restful sleep, but it's better than, I guess, shivering and shaking all night. I'm gonna try and go back to sleep. Good morning, everybody. I feel like I was just getting my very best sleep, and a bunch of crows decided to wake me up. I'm excited about something. But it's not a sound I'm used to hearing, so that's probably what woke me up. Oh man, I was sleeping really nicely, finally. Oh well, I got up again at 6 o'clock to put the rest of the wood on the fire. Actually worked out about perfectly. It's still putting out lots of heat, but it should burn down enough to be a good cooking fire. And then I can just throw a bunch of snow on it before I head out. Oh, I can really hear the surf a lot more than I could yesterday. I wonder why that is. Looks like another beautiful day. It's not raining. Let's walk down here and see what the water looks like. I think peak of high tide is in another hour or so, but this is probably pretty close to how high it's going to get. It's sure beautiful. If it didn't rain 300 days a year, I might move here. But I like sunshine more than that. I better get breakfast and pack camp up, such as it is. So I sit here munching on my bacon. I'm thinking on the trip as a whole. It's been a really good trip. I don't really have the right words to say how frustrated I am with dropping my crab pot. That is a big bummer. However, the weather has been fantastic, and I've gotten to see a different part of the world than I've ever spent any time in. This is a beautiful place. I'm glad I came here. And as painful as learning experiences are sometimes, I guarantee I'll do a better job crabbing next time. And there's gonna be a next time, for sure. I don't know if it'll be here, but I will go somewhere and I'm gonna try crabbing out of a small boat again. Well, it's been a good trip. I don't see any more of my stuff laying around. I've got the fire covered in snow. I think I'm gonna head home. I love all of these ice falls, but when there's ice on the ground and then water starts running over it, it gets pretty hazardous. There's a couple of spots up here that are absolutely deadly. I fell on my way in. Hopefully I can avoid that now that it's light, but it is really hard to stay on the trail when the trail is sloped over the edge and there's water with ice. Thankfully there's On most of these, there's just a little strip of gravel, but a couple of these I stepped on my way here. This is a bad one, but hopefully the snow isn't quite as slippery. Oh, no, it definitely is. Yikes. I think this must have been one of the ones that got me on my way in. I might have to bear crawl. Let's see here. Oh, that's not too bad. Just a little shuffle step. We can deal with that. But sure is pretty. I love this terrain. I don't think I'd want to climb that in a hurry. It would be fun to do though if I had lots of time. And it's straight up and down. Look at those trees. I know I keep talking about the trees, but it's because they're amazing. It's raining pretty hard out there now, but I'm mostly protected. Every time I come through a gap in the trees like this, I'll get raindrops. But as soon as I enter the tunnel again, they mostly stop, which I'm okay with, not being soaked.
Unfortunately, this is where my final GoPro battery decided to give up the ghost, so this video ends here. However, if you enjoyed this video, please join me on my next adventure where my 9-year-old daughter and I hike to a frozen waterfall and build the coolest cave shelter that I've ever been a part of. We'll see you there. Until then, be good if you can and careful if you can't.